And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. The best heli skiing in the world is in Canada, and the best Canadian heli skiing is in British Columbia. Hans Gossamer, an Australian mountain guide, had a major pioneering role in heli skiing in the 1960s and formed the Canadian Mountain Holidays. On today's Open Connection, we will open our archives to bring you this story from 2002.
This is the country Northern Escapes Heli-Skiing wants to share with adventurous tourists from Europe and the U.S. The company has plotted potential runs and flight paths over a vast area around Doreen, east of Terrace, Calum Lake, and to the west. Willie Schmidt is already in the sport fishing business. Now he's hoping to expand into this wintertime venture.
And the base of operations will be out of Terrace as well as a lodge in Doreen. The area is very large. The whole objective is to provide a very high quality heli skiing experience, which means powder skiing.
Northern Escapes needs government tenure to use the backcountry it has in mind, and recently sought public feedback at an open house.
It's called a license of occupation. It's one of the weaker forms of tenure, and it basically gives them non-exclusive rights to the use of the land. So basically it allows them to use the land, but the public still has full access.
Ray Carrier and Northern Escapes have been talking with several groups which already enjoy some of the terrain in question. The Mount Remo Backcountry Society is generally supportive, but doesn't want the enjoyment of its own members compromised.
We spent a lot of time developing a non-motorized area around the Shames ski area, so we just wanted to make sure that they respected the non-motorized area around there, because that's basically the bread and butter of our ski touring is around the Shames Mountain area, just because of the access the ski hill provides us.
The Mount Remo group is also seeking cooperation from Northern Escapes when it plans outings farther afield.
Well, the example I used was if, for instance, a couple friends and I wanted to go ski tour across the Mount William Brown ice field, that if given sufficient notice, say, 72 hours, or, it's going to take some planning to do a trip like that, they respect our peace and tranquility and try and stay out of that area while we were planning to do a trip across there. So we've asked for that, and they're definitely considering it as part of their management plan.
Solitude and fresh powder are key to the enjoyment for both local skiers and the heli-skiers.
The operator will have to offer the virgin snow on any given day. And so the idea is that you have to have a very large area to make it work, and you have to be able to farm the snow, which is a key element to it.
Let me wait for the next snowfall before the next bunch.
That's right.
For a heli-ski operator, finding fresh snow and ensuring guests' safety requires data collection. And the Mount Remo Backcountry Group would like to benefit from that too. It's asked Northern Escapes to post snowpack information to the Canadian Avalanche Association website.
As a heli-ski operation, they're going to have a minimum of 2 certified guides who are, mountain guides. So though, as part of their operations, they'll be taking daily snowpack observations. So, we would hope that they would be able to make some just general observations available to, group or just the general public.
Right now, the Canadian Avalanche Association has limited information from the Northwest and, in fact, doesn't issue forecasts for the region because there isn't enough data to base them on. Along with the backcountry skiers who reach their destinations on foot, Northern Escapes must also seek peaceful coexistence with snowmobile enthusiasts. They're being consulted as well. And the Shames Mountain Ski Corporation has raised some concerns about access for potential expansion of its operations. But humans aren't the only potential conflicts either. In the Caribou region recently, environmentalists protested a heli-ski operation because of mountain goats in the area.
The mountain goats are very sensitive to the noise, and you have to respect their areas, and you don't want to scare them. You want to maintain the quality of their habitat. And by increased knowledge of where they are, you can avoid that and avoid them and make sure that they aren't scared by the helicopters.
It may sound like a lot of concerns to overcome, but Northern Escapes is well on its way to satisfying BC assets and lands, and it's already preparing to market holidays next winter, becoming another of more than 30 wilderness ski operations in the province.
It's growing on an annual basis and proving to be a major economic generator to smaller communities.
Potentially, if they're looking at a 15-person ski week, times the 15-week program, that potentially over 3,000 skier visits, and on a $700 low-end sort of a number per day, you're looking at over $1 million of new money coming to Terrace for different services and facilities here.
Daryl Tucker also sees less direct benefits. He thinks Northern Escapes would add credibility to the whole Northwest as a winter tourism destination.
It complements the facilities that we have in Terrace, being Shames Mountain, and regionally it complements Key Smithers, Shames, Last Frontier, even up in Atlan, Klondike heli skiing. All of a sudden we can possibly consider the idea of branding ourselves the Northwest as a ski destination and use services of British Columbia, Tourism British Columbia, and then the Northern BC Tourism Association.
The website for Last Frontier heli-skiing, based at Bell 2 off Highway 37 North, provides a taste of the marketing potential. Last Frontier has been in business for about 5 years now. Its facilities may be more rustic than some other operations, but its isolation has advantages for its guests too, in terms of finding relatively untouched wilderness. Due to its proximity to Terrace, Northern Escapes intends to use some local restaurants for feeding its guests, as well as the kitchen at its own lodge. While certified guides will have to be brought in from elsewhere, the company is talking about training local people as well.
There's definitely some people here in our society who aspire to be a mountain guide, and if given the opportunity, they jump at it. But it's a matter of getting the experience, and if they could start off as an assistant guide or a tail guide, they'd be really keen on that. And that's our hope. It's not that it'll just be some exclusive club that only the clientele go to, and as long as they can involve local employment, and I see it as a positive situation for Terrace in the area.
The project seems to have generated a good deal of excitement in the region. If all goes smoothly with further consultations and refining the management plan, Northern Escapes aims to be in business next winter.
It's probably one of the few new startup businesses in the area, and I think it's good. I hope to see it done responsibly, and in large part that's my role to monitor and make sure things are done with care and attention, and hopefully we can bring tourists from around the globe in the dead of winter to Terrace.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. In 1947, the Prince Rupert Basketball Association hosted the Northern British Columbia Coast Indian Championship Tournament. 7 teams played during the 3-day period, and there was approximately 400 fans watching. The tournament was so successful they decided to make it an annual event. Let us return in the archives to the 23rd Annual All-Native Basketball Tournament.
At first glance, the All-Native Basketball Tournament in Prince Rupert looks like many other sporting events, but the All-Native, now in its 43rd year, has something extra. There's a feeling here of tradition, history, and an abundance of heart and soul that both fans and players bring to the game. This is the story of 3 of those fans, one of them a son, one with senior rank, and one embodying the term superfan, and how they reflect what's special and unique about the All-Native, a tradition that goes beyond a tournament. First, meet Saul Brown. We met him as the women's game went into hair-raising overtime, and he talked a blue streak on ball through the whole thing. His dad plays on the Masters team, and naturally Saul has a place on the bench. But one day he'll be off that bench and onto the court.
How old are you? I'm 10. How do you know so much about basketball? Well, me and my dad, I grew up in a house of basketball.
Okay. Excellent. You play basketball?
Yes, I do.
What position do you play?
Guard.
Guard. You're going to be here one day playing the tournament?
Yes, I am.
So what's Saul's recommendation for the game strategy?
Well, it's going to be hard, but the team's going to end up Bella did beat Alaska once with teamwork and hard defense, because on offense we will need teamwork, but on defense we will need hard defense to stop.
When the men's team from Bella captures the men's division, Saul is right there to celebrate alongside his father. Family is a big element of the All-Native. Many mention the good example the tournament sets for young people, how it is a source of pride and basketball a healthy pastime. For every youngster like Saul representing the future of the tournament, there are elders who maintain the link with history. One of them is Harvey Grant.
I'm here because I love watching basketball, or I love watching my people. Especially some of my kids are my grandparents, my grandson. And I've been with it since it started. I only missed 1 year when I got sick. I had a serious operation, and I didn't come. But I listened to it on the radio, and it was bad in my heart because I couldn't come.
Many of the more senior fans have been players, coaches, parents of players, and are now making sure the younger generation does it right. As you can see, some appear to be thinking about what they'd be doing or what they did when in the players' shoes.
In 1948 to 1950, I played in All-Native. We were champions. We were beat by Port Simpson at 51. Then they shut her down for a few years. In 1960, I guess it was, when they started again, and I've been with it since. I was a coach for a few years. I come second and third.
In between the players of the future and the players of the past, both watching current players' every move, there are mothers, brothers, friends, and a special kind of fan, the super fan.
Hey there, who are you cheering for?
Magic all the way! It is magic time! Magic time, you guys! Here we go! Yeah, magic! Let's go! Here we go! Defense! Defense, magic! Oh! Yeah! Yeah, let's go!
Okay, I just want to be sure. Are you cheering for the Magic or for the other actors?
The other guys, you gotta be crazy. No, I am a magic man. A magic man, yeah.
You're a big fan.
Yes, I come up with my son is here and I'm cheering.
Your son play?
He is playing, yes. Yes, he's number 2. Number 2, but he's gonna be number 1 after tonight.
And even though it's pretty obvious who this guy is cheering for, there's a real brotherhood here among the teams and the fans, versus leagues where fans are attached to one particular team, some only for as long as that team is doing well. Take, for example, the men's final, with 2 Haida teams playing each other for the title. Heidelberg, Alaska eventually came out the winner, but as one spectator put it, we all win. They're both Haida teams, or cousin versus cousin, some called it.
It's hard to go for that to have that killer instinct to go for the jugular, you know, so to speak. When you really want to be competitive and you want to be intense, but it's hard because they're like brothers to us, so it's difficult.
The family nature of the game hits you once you spend some time watching the tournament. There are customs like congratulating a fouled out player, not celebrating that someone has hacked their way out of the game, but saying good job and we'll miss playing with you. When someone falls down, players help each other get back up and get back into the game. And at the end of the match, players literally come together. There are a lot of old friendships here, and old rivalries on the court too. That's what makes it great ball. But it's what goes farther than the foul line that will take the All-Native beyond the boards for generations to come.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection, a comic book grading service known as a Certified Guarantee Company, rated 8.5 out of 10 for our first issue Superman. In April of this year, an identified buyer paid Heritage Auctions $6 million US for one of the 78 copies still in existence. Let us return the archives with Jerry Mattson.
People have been collecting pop culture and sports items for a long time, and in Terrace the buzz has continued to be strong. A local store owner remembers when he first opened up shop in Terrace about 10.5 years ago.
We had a lot of empty shelves the first week, actually, and certain products, the games and that we carry, we literally sold out of everything. So the feedback's been really good, actually. And over the years, we've got a lot more, as I say.
Matson says collectors range from those who focus on value to customers who just do it for the fun. The age of collecting aficionados coming into his store are from the ages of 4 to 50.
I would say dollar-wise, though, the customers spending money in here, most are over the age of 16, actually. Everyone assumes it'll be children with the comic store, but nowadays comics got fairly expensive, so it tends to be mainly people 18 to 35. And it used to be mostly males, but that's really shifting. There's a lot more women buying comics now.
I like to collect older style comics, mainly Spider-Man. I've done that for quite a few years, and I just bought some hockey cards too. So I've been collecting hockey cards for quite a few years, mostly tops and fleet type style cards. So, and I don't know, it's just the appeal of with comics. It's it's into a different fantasy type world, and it's like the escape, just for a while you get to go somewhere else.
Sonny Kunar opened up his collectible store in Terrace in 1993. His main focus is on hockey memorabilia, which is a passion of his since he started collecting around age 12.
I think everybody, when they're young and everywhere, ages from grade 3 to grade 6, we all either threw cards against the wall or played with marbles. Nice to collect, and it was fun, and it was a hobby for me initially. Yeah, so I've been doing it for quite a while.
Was just starting back to the comics I was reading as a kid when I was growing up. Now it's more geared towards different characters, writers, artists. A little bit on the collecting side, but it's really hard to judge if a comic's going to be worth anything down the road. So it's mostly on just the stuff that I like collecting.
Whether it's cards, comics, or statues, Hollywood plays a huge role in the influx of customers walking into collectible stores.
Pokemon cards and comics and toys, etc., have been popular with the younger audiences for the past 3 or 4 years. And I thought that would just be a very quick trend that would end, and the cards are still doing incredibly well for us. When Star Wars movies are out, everything Star Wars sells better. There's a Spider-Man movie coming out in the spring, and that will definitely pique the interest. We've already had tons of people asking for the Spider-Man toys, and cards are coming out for that.
Things changed from Pogs that started about 7 years ago to Beanie Babies that were really hot 3 years ago that are stable now, and to the rage of Pokemon. There's fads that every market goes through, but people do have to realize that the hobby of collectibles started about 1990 for the sports side of it, and it's no longer a fad. It's a hobby. It's been out for 12 years now.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
From the late 1970s through the early 1990s, Marvel Comics Group and Marvel Entertainment Group sold options to studios to produce films based on the Marvel Comics characters. One of the Marvel superheroes, Spider-Man, was optioned in late 1970, and rights reverted to Marvel without a film being produced within the allocated time frame. In this final segment of Open Connection, let us return to the archives with Gerald Bryson.
The new Spider-Man movie that's coming out in early May, and also the soon-to-be-released Star Wars Episode 2, will see a new trend of youngsters line up and get on the bandwagon of collecting. Some long-term fans are excited to see how Spider-Man will be adapted to the big screen.
I love the X-Men movie. Anytime I get a chance, the same with the Lord of the Rings, like you get to see the adaptation from the novel or like the comic, and it's amazing to see what the special effects they can do nowadays and adapting with something that you read, and you go into when you're reading it and you see it in your mind, and for a movie to actually produce it, and you get to see it before your own eyes. It's a very, very cool thing.
I find there's quite a lot of people into this little group. Different collectors for different ranges, a lot of sport card collectors, a lot of comic collectors, a lot of gamers that do a lot of the games. So there's a good following of each different type of category.
Jerry Matson says he hasn't really been affected by the recent economic downturn since most of his business comes from the States.
We have a huge number of people that have files here for comics, for instance, where every week when we get in our new comics, we just automatically pull the titles that they collect. Makes it better for them because they're not going to have to worry about finding the books. And it makes it better for us for purposes of ordering, knowing how many we'll need, etc.
Although Matson says collecting should be for fun, he also knows that dollar values are a big part.
This is a monthly publication called Wizard Magazine, and it lists all the comics that are fairly hot. It also gives you a lot of advice on what's coming out, what's worth looking at, what's starting to be hot, so you can kind of get ahead of the game and look at the issues. Something like this is called the Overstreet Price Guide. It comes out once a year, and it lists pretty much everything that's been made for comics in the last 50 or 60 years. So if you got a lot of old books, you want something like this to look it up, and it's going to have a lot of information. For the people that collect card games, collectible card games like the Pokemon cards, the Magic the Gathering, Star Wars, Babylon 5, there's a magazine called Scry. It lists all the prices for those, gives checklists, things like that.
For value, many people assume that the number one issues are the special things, but that's often not the case.
Everyone will buy a number one. For instance, you have, say, 100 people buy a number one of an issue. Then they say, okay, I'll buy a number one of something else, not go for the second issue. Only a few people buy that. Same happens with the third issue, and all of a sudden it's the second and third issues that are in demand because the publishers print less, also based on this. So you can have an issue 16 of a series worth far more than issue 1, depending on how many were made, the writer that's doing it, the artist that's doing it.
Collectibles value can go up or down depending on many factors. These comics, which have been only out for less than 4 months, have a combined worth of $100.
Nobody knew that it was going to be so popular. Stores like ourselves didn't order huge amounts of them. Then the publisher turns around, doesn't print a lot because the orders aren't there, and it's super popular. There isn't enough demand. All of a sudden, they're worth a lot.
Sonny Kunar says some of his prized collectibles in his store are a Patrick Waugh game used stick valued at about $1,000 US, a Gretzky signed jersey valued around $1,500, and a Bobby Orr rookie card valued around $3,000.
If you're spending large amounts of money or anything, substantial, get someone to authenticate it, get someone to look at it, because the fact that it's very hard 20 years from now when your kid pulls out of the drawer and say, Dad got Gretzky to sign this jersey for me when I was 10, to prove it. I mean, it's so easy to get something at that moment, talk to the gentleman, write him a letter, win it in a charity auction, get that company to forward you a letter saying, yes, you won in a charity auction, because that's what will be beneficial to you 20 years from now.
The 24-team tournament wrapped up this afternoon with the championship game in the boys division. The Bella Bella Majestics in black taking on the Greenville Wolverines in green. The game was a tight one right from the start, with neither team getting ahead. Halftime seeing Bella Bella up by a basket, 31-29. The game stayed close right down to the final buzzer, with both sides trading the lead a number of times. But when time ran out, it was Greenville taking the championship, 61-57.
What was the biggest, the key to winning today? What was important today that you guys did right?
Well, they stayed together, and we come back. I told them we had to get control of our own board before we can get control of the game. Because it wasn't the first shot that was beating us, it was the second and the third shot that beat us. So when we started taking control of that, we took control of the game down the end.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.